Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute, Madrawal, Chennai. Our vision is to provide a viable and credible learning experience for aspiring student community and inquisitive researchers who seek to expand the current body of knowledge pertaining to English language and literature across diverse fields of study. To enable the students to explore English language and literature, to be proficient in the use of the language and communication, and build knowledge for personal and societal development.
Hi, I'm Sounda, 2017 passed out. It's an immense pleasure for me to share my feelings and experience of the MGR University, especially for BA English department. I enjoyed all the 3 years where I studied in MGR in an English department. Literature almost changed my life, gave me creativity, it taught me how to think on my own, how to dream especially. And continuing in the same college, same university as a law student. It is the happiest moment in my life. And those who are going to choose a BA English literature are blessed. Thank you.
My name is Anil Verma.
My name is Darshini.
Hello everyone, this is Shruti.
I chose the English literature because this is the only way that you can explore about the society you live in, explore about yourself, learn more about the cultures, the literatures of the different countries.
So I'm working as a content writer in a legal firm now, and one of the main reasons of where I am in my life, I'm able to work as a content creator. I'm able to have such knowledge because of the education I was provided in college.
They have a spectrum of opportunities available, starting from the webinars to seminars to various intercollegiate and various intracollegiate events. I get to experience all that, and it has been an incredible journey so far, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Thank you.
afternoon, everyone. Let me start this program with the thought provoking words by Sir Peter Drucker. He says, the only skill that will be important in the 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. Everything else will become outmoded over time. How practical are these words? And this is the ground reality we are all made to experience today. Having said this, it gives me such happiness to greet and meet you all today, where we have all connected to witness an international webinar organized by the Department of English, Faculty of Humanities and Science of Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute on the topic Learning in the 21st Century Challenges and Opportunities by eminent Dr. Naeema Hann, Emeritus Reader, Carnegie School of Education, Leeds, Beckett University, UK. I am glad to introduce myself as Professor Dr. P. Harshni, and I shall be your host for the day. The idea behind organizing this webinar is to enrich the knowledge of everyone as regards the teaching learning paradigm in the 21st century, wherein challenges are minimized and opportunities are maximized in a language classroom. Along with the eminent resource person of today in the virtual studio, we also have with us the friendly members of the Department of English, Dr. Mary Thomas, Dean, Dr. V. Karpagawadivu, Deputy Head Administration, and Assistant Professors Mrs. Nafisa Begum and Ms. R. Akshya, who is also the technical host of today's program. Dear participants, I am elated that you all have registered in large numbers to attend this program. Your keenness and lively participation motivate us to organize many useful programs as this. Before we head to the program, I would like to inform you all about the feedback link. The link will be posted in the YouTube chat box under a bright yellow title at the end of this session. You are all requested to click, fill, and submit before 6 p.m. Indian time today to instantly receive your certificates in your registered emails. The form will be deactivated after 6 p.m. Please make it a point to post questions related to the topic in the chat box at the end of the session. The resource person with her wide knowledge and experience will only be happy to clear all your doubts. Heading to the program now, I warmly invite our erudite Dean of the Department of English, Dr. Mary Thomas, to welcome the gathering. To you now, ma'am.
A very warm afternoon to each and everyone gathered here. It's a balmy day with the monsoons just hanging over our window panes. And on behalf of the Dr.MGR University, I welcome each and every participant. I welcome our beloved chairman, ACS Shanmugam sir, and our respected president, ACS Arun Kumar, our vice chancellor, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi, our registrar, Dr. C.B. Palnivel, and our dear provost, Dr. G. Gopalakrishnan, and our support and strength in the E&S campus, our additional registrar, Dr. J.B. Jabaraj, and the Senior Dean of English, Dr. Pushkala Ramani, the Head Department of English, Dr. Chandrasena Rajeshwaran, the Deputy Head, Dr. Karpagawadivu, and the Additional Head, Dr. Julie Elizabeth. And I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Naeema Hann, the resource person of this session, who is the Emeritus Reader from the Carnegie School of Education, Leeds, Beckett University, UK. We are thrilled to welcome you, ma'am, and we welcome our dear faculty and students and all the other participants who have registered for this program. This afternoon session is this very, very interesting topic, learning in the 21st century, the challenges and opportunities. This title of the topic has a ring to it. It is the yin and yang of any educational system. And definitely, as we go through this pandemic and times are unpredictable, the whole learning process has tumbled over, and the learning process has taken a paradigm shift. The teaching learning process has taken a paradigm shift. And I really am thrilled to welcome Dr. Naeema Hann to this session. And I'm sure that all of us are going to have an invigorating session along with her. Welcome each and everyone to the Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute University. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary ma'am, for your earnest welcome to the gathering. It is now time to introduce our eminent resource person, Dr. Naeema Hann, and we have Mrs. N. Nafisa Begum, Assistant Professor, Department of English, who will take up this lovely task of introducing her to us. To you now, Nafisa ma'am.
Good afternoon to one and all connected here. I'm Nafisa, Assistant Professor from the Department of English, Dr.MGR Education and Research Institute. I would like to begin with a beautiful quote by Socrates. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. It's my pleasure and privilege to introduce our eminent resource person, Dr. Naeema Hann, for this one-day international webinar on the topic Learning in the 21st Century, Challenges and Opportunities. Dr. Naeema Hann is an Emeritus Reader, Carnegie School of Education at Leeds, Beckett University, UK. She began her career teaching English to Afghan refugees. Dr. Naeema Hann taught on the Doctor of Education at the School of Education at Leeds, Beckett University and supervises and examines doctorates. Naeema also led the Master of Arts in English Language Teaching and modules on course design, assessment, materials development, multimedia, and independent learning for the MA English Language Teaching. Naeema's work with the Center for Teaching and Learning at Leeds Beckett includes membership of the Postgraduate Taught Award Group, Postgraduate Learning Outcomes Task and Finish Group. Naeema's research interests are language learning materials, learner strategies, and motivation for language learning, especially in low-literate contexts. It's our proud privilege to have you here with us and wish you good luck in your future endeavors, ma'am. Once again, I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. What a stunning and impressive profile. Ma'am, our gratitude and abundance to you for accepting our invitation instantly and gracing the program today as our resource person. We are absolutely certain that all the participants connected here will benefit largely from your resourceful, need of the hour, and highly intellectual topic. I now warmly invite you to the studio to enlighten the audience on learning in the 21st century, challenges and opportunities. To you now, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone from Leeds, and good afternoon where you are. I have no words to say how privileged I am to be invited to this talk. I am welcomed so warmly and so sincerely to this land of poetry and creativity. It was very, very inspiring to hear the student testimonials as well a few minutes ago. I can see that your august institution is doing a wonderful job in turning out the future, because really our students are the future of the world, not just the future for India or the country they are in, but future of the world, especially now that we are so connected globally through the internet. So anyway, without any further delay, I will share my screen. I do have a PowerPoint, which will kind of help us to stay on task. So let me just do that. Okay. So I wonder, please let me know if you can't see the PowerPoint. You'll be able to see it now. Okay. So it's wonderful to be here with everybody, and I would like to renew my thanks. A special thank you to Dr. Vijay Singh Thakur at Dover University, who introduced me to Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute and the Research Institute to me. And the whole connection comes through Professor Roger Nunn at the English Scholars Beyond Borders, which is a group of scholars that connects internationally. And of course, at Dr.MGR Education and Research Institute, I would like to sincerely and warmly thank the whole team that has made today possible, and you, dear participants, for being here. So before we begin, let's get comfortable. This is an online session, so I would like to demonstrate some of the strategies we use in our online sessions. So in the chat box, if you have access to a chat box or a comment box, or just on your notepad, write down 3 words. So where are you sitting? Maybe on a chair at a desk, you may be sitting comfortably on a cushion, on the carpet. And what can you see from your window? So maybe some rain, as Dr. Mary Thomas had mentioned, or maybe a tree. And then write 3 things you want to know from today's session. So why am I asking you to do this? To help us all to focus and to be present to what I am going to try and share with you, but also to be present to this online community that we are part of just now. Because being present allows us to be attentive and engage. So just to remind ourselves, we have been in a lockdown on and off since last March due to this worldwide pandemic, and the internet, which previously had been seen as a distraction and something that promoted shallow thinking. Just think back to your classrooms before, where if you saw any of your students looking at their mobiles, we would probably tell our student to put their mobiles away because we thought that was a distraction. But now that very mobile or the tablet that we asked people to put away have become the greatest resource for us to connect and make contact, to communicate, and also a source of information and interaction. So just keeping that in mind, today I'll share with you some of the challenges in the 21st century. I hope to talk for about maybe 40 minutes or so. While I'm talking, I won't be able to see the comment box, but I will catch up once I stop sharing my screen. So challenges, but also the opportunities this has brought to us, and some suggestions for the future. And may I suggest that actually the future is now. We are in the future. So these challenges and opportunities are with us now. And some of the opportunities that I'm going to share will actually be reminders, because I'm sure that all of us are already using these opportunities and acting on some of the practical strategies that I'm going to share. So again, just to ground us all, can you use the comment box? Or if you don't have access to the comment box, 3 of your challenges, keeping your role in mind. So if you're joining today's session as a student, maybe the challenge is not enough broadband on a device with a larger screen. Maybe you have enough broadband on your phone, but the screen is not large enough for you to really see things. As a teacher, maybe it's the platform. So the platform could be Zoom or Teams or StreamYard. And maybe as teachers, we are still trying to understand all the facilities that the particular platform offers us. If you're an administrator, maybe the challenge you have is not enough devices for all the teachers in your team and all the students. So, or whatever, or maybe the challenge is not having enough time to get to grips with learning the new skills that Professor Harshini mentioned. So some of the challenges that we faced at the beginning of the lockdown at our university was motivation. So student motivation and also teacher motivation. So motivation often comes from competition, let's be honest. We all want to do better than our previous selves, but also perhaps better than our colleagues. We want to do well. Alongside this, there is a sense of community. So we are all working in teams with our colleagues, but also with our students. So how can we develop and maintain that sense of community among our colleagues, among our students, but also among teachers and students? We are all part of learning communities. Also, student retention during a session like this, but also an in-person session, and maintaining retention across the course. It could be a 3-month semester, it could be a year-long master's, it could be a 3 or 4-year BA, it could be a 3 or 4-year doctoral study. So how to maintain retention throughout this time period. Also, our students come to the sessions every day, but also the overall course with different levels of knowledge and skills. And let's face it, abilities. So how can we differentiate our sessions and the course materials in an effective manner so that all students are able to arrive at a similar level, at least by the end of the course, if not by the end of the session? And then often we assume that our students who tend to be younger are digital residents. And we, the teachers who tend to be slightly older, I'm definitely a lot older, we are digital visitors. And I'm going to expand on this a few slides later. And let's not forget assessment, because it is actually the assessment which will give the students that piece of paper, that qualification, that will take them to the next stage of their lives. And not just working lives, but as your student testimonial so aptly said, their intellectual and emotional lives as well, and perhaps their spiritual lives. So just to ensure that we all are on the same page when I talk about motivation, when I talk about motivation, I'm using the definition by Ryan and Deci, who take the simplest meaning when we are moved to do something, but also motivation as a social practice. So a minute or so ago, I talked about competition versus community. And so motivation plays a large role here in competition within a community, I would say. So let's come back to these concepts of residents, digital residents, and digital visitors. So digital residents have an online identity and conduct their relationships online. So I'm thinking of my daughters, for instance, who are in their 20s. And they have an online identity. They are permanently online. Their relationships are permanently online. And I'm getting to that stage as well. So today's wonderful hosts, we've only met online. We've been talking on WhatsApp and on email. And I feel that I know you all so well. And I feel a connection with you. Also, digital residents use social media such as LinkedIn or Instagram, and they have a real identity there. They blog. So my daughters use the internet for shopping. I tend to make a shopping list using the internet and then actually go to the outlet to do my shopping. I physically go to the bank. Digital residents will use the internet for gathering information, but also for socializing. So my daughters and my students often meet online in online spaces only, not physically in a cafe. They use the internet for professional reasons, for study and recreation. And the internet is a crucial part of their identity and their life. So, digital visitors. Now, I would count myself as a digital visitor. So I tend to use the internet for travel arrangements, maybe to make bookings, to book flights, to book hotels. And for research, so to prepare for today's session, I used our online library. I read papers and books to make sure that I could share some principles from theory with you. I do communicate with friends and family on the internet because I have family in India, in the UK, in other cities, in the US, and in Australia, and so on. And I'm not connected permanently to my mobile phone or another digital device. I go to my digital devices with a purpose, specifically to carry out certain tasks. I don't necessarily want to develop an online identity, and I don't take part in online culture extensively. I still read print books. So something to ask yourselves is if you are a digital visitor or a digital resident. For the purposes of education, it doesn't matter as long as we are focused in how we use digital spaces and manage our digital time in a focused and purposeful manner. And how to do that is something I'm going to share a few minutes down the line. So, of course, there are challenges. So there are technical difficulties in terms of the quality of the internet available, the devices we access our educational materials from. So by educational materials, I don't just mean sort of the educational resources or recorded sessions, but live sessions like this. Will the electricity be there for the duration of the session? Will the quality of the internet be consistent for the duration of the session? These are all real challenges, not just in the global south, but in the global north as well. Then security, internet security may be an issue. For instance, at our university, we use YouTube as an educational resource, but we realize that YouTube is blocked in certain countries, or certain parts of YouTube are blocked. Then as teachers, we need to train our students to be digitally critical and literate and to use reliable sources, because when using the internet, one can get lost and follow link after link. It's about keeping that focus and using reliable websites. And then there is the potential for misunderstanding. So for example, what I think of as an outstanding doctoral thesis, my own director of studies, my own professors may not think that is outstanding work, because we all bring different levels of previous knowledge and different expectations to what we assess. IT skills need to be learned. We discovered when we went online and started teaching synchronously, that our students were very digitally literate on Instagram, but their digital literacy for Zoom or Microsoft Teams was not so efficient. And I found myself taking my students through the practical tips to use Teams or Zoom for several sessions in the course. So it wasn't enough to send them instructions and videos. We had to take them through things step by step once we were in the session. And then, of course, classroom management, keeping students engaged. And again, I'm going to share some tips later. So embracing challenges. So this is one of the strategies we use. We build in chat box or comment box tasks during the session. So now your task is to write 3 words in the comment box in how you overcame your challenges and state your role. So as a student, you may have been sharing one laptop when you were learning from home with your siblings, maybe with your mom and dad who were also using the same laptop for work. So did you agree a timetable, or did your institution provide sort of recorded sessions with a student forum so that there was the opportunity to interact as well? Because you would not be able to join the live session because at that very time, one of your parents would be using the laptop for work. As a teacher, did you provide sort of a repository of materials, but also live sessions like the one we are in? As an administrator, did you have to move funds within budget areas to facilitate online learning? Maybe more time for teachers to prepare online sessions. So here come some practical tips. So as teachers, course leaders, module leaders, course leaders, planning is key. I cannot stress this enough. Plan, 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 and use your students as partners. You need to make some decisions at least 3 months before the course begins. Is the course going to be blended, or fully online? So where will there be some live sessions as well? Which platform? So here I would suggest use just 2 platforms, so, or ideally 1. So at the moment we use Blackboard for depositing learning materials and also for receiving assessments. And for live sessions like this, we use Microsoft Teams. For our foundation year courses, we use just 1 platform, Blackboard. And within that platform, we use Blackboard Collaborate for live sessions. Think at course level. The look and experience needs to be consistent. So make sure that the screens, the landing pages have similar colors, not too many colors. And the design is consistent in terms of not just the colors, but which bit of information is on which part of the screen. Make your students partners. Ask them. Once they have enrolled, have a pre-course area where you can ask them which topics they're interested in. I know that you have a preset curriculum, but within that, give them some choice. What kind of skills and functions? Carry out a needs analysis. And then from the needs analysis, you'll need to prioritize some needs and wants. Ask the students to bring in text. So in a large class, set up a rota. So do this before the course begins. So for the first 2 weeks, these 2 students will be bringing in texts, or these could be little video clips. Give them some parameters for what they're bringing in. So the text mustn't be more than 1,000 words. The video clip mustn't be more than 3 minutes long, maybe. So give them some tips on the quality of materials. Make the course and session overview available to the students before the course and the session happen. And I'm going to share an example in a minute. Be consistent. I can't stress this enough. So the colors, the layouts, the activities you use. So make sure that you use maybe no more than 2 or 3 activities throughout a particular subject, for example, or a particular module. The texts can be different, but the activity types need to be consistent, because remember, we don't want our students to spend time learning how to do an activity. We want them to learn the subject through the activity. And then make the assessment tasks and the criteria you're going to use to mark the assessments available from the beginning of the course. This is very important. So I promise to share an example. So on your screen, you should be able to see something that we put on Blackboard. So I put on the materials for the whole week, an overview of the sessions for the whole week. So this is for an EAP course. So I remind them, of the platform where the sessions will take place, that I'll be sending them an invitation. And I tend to send, if there is 1 session per week, I will send them invitations for all the sessions for the whole course, if it's a 3-month semester, for example, because then it's in their calendar and they can plan their time. I'll send them reminders for all the sessions. If there's 3 sessions a week, like what you can see on the screen, I'll send them reminders at the latest by Friday morning before the week begins. I'll give them the topic. I'll tell them we use a course book. So I'll tell them where to go to the course book, which pages, and I'll put my PowerPoints up in advance. Topics, again, are made available, what language we are focusing on, and then each week we remind them of the deadline for the final assessment and an overview of the final assessment, what is required. All this information is in their course handbook, but we remind them as well. Then during the session, we engage them through a quiz to promote competition. Remember that bit about competition and community. And then in Teams, we send them into breakout rooms. Before we had Teams, we set them up in WhatsApp groups so that they could collaborate with each other during the session to complete tasks. We offer synchronous and asynchronous sessions. So synchronous is a live session like the one you're in now. And an asynchronous session is where all the materials are stored on the virtual learning environments such as Blackboard. We build up to our assessments. So, not just students looking at their assessment in the week before or the day before. We set up a timeline for them to send in drafts of their assessment, and we give feedback on these drafts. We remind them. I'm going to share some more tips and opportunities. So just to remind everybody, today I'm sharing challenges, overcoming or embracing the challenges and opportunities to support learning in online environments. So at the end of the course and after the course, how do we support student engagement and learning? Our students have more than one opportunity to submit, so there isn't a deadline for their assessment or an online exam. But then, if they're not able to make that, there is a deadline, a second deadline, which is advertised right at the beginning of the course in their course calendar. However, their mark is capped for this second opportunity. So they won't have the full range of marks at this second opportunity. So that encourages them to submit at the first opportunity, of course. And then a variety of assessments. So they do live presentations or they upload recorded presentations, and we do practice presentations with them for this. Or it could be a practical assessment where they develop a product which has to be supported with a theoretical rationale. It could be a lesson plan or a particular set of teaching materials or a medical product, or it could be a research project. So these digital online environments also provide us with opportunities. So here is your next task. And this time I am going to stay silent for a minute just to show that silence is also important in sessions. Give your students an opportunity to think. When you give them a task, give them the time and the silence to carry out the task. So in your chat box, type 3 words or, just write them in a notebook. What do you do online? Do you chat on WhatsApp? Do you surf the internet? Do you shop? And why? So I use the internet to keep in touch with family, with wonderful people like you who want to keep on learning and to get information. So I'm going to be silent for a minute while you do this task. So I hope this silence, which was not a full minute, has given you an opportunity to reflect. So again, in online sessions in particular, silence is important. As teachers, we feel that we always have to be doing something. Sometimes we need to sit back and let our students get on with the task we have set them. Give them the chance to think and absorb the demands of the task before they even begin the task. This is very important. So now I'm going to continue talking about the opportunities for learning in online environments. So now more than ever, we can make students owners of their learning, and we can do that by engaging them before the course begins. So flipped learning, and again, I'm going to share a slide on flipped learning very soon. So before the course begins, engage them, ask them which topics interest them. Are there particular activities that interest them? Give them some pre-course tasks. which will help them become familiar with the type of activities you'll be using on the course. Leadership as service, and really, I think I don't need to talk to you about it, because in India, you are a great example of leadership as service. In all the talks I've done with institutions in India and colleagues in India that I have worked with, I have been humbled by the warmth, the sincerity, and the humbleness that institutions and colleagues in India bring to everything. It really is very touching. So you know all about leadership as service. I can't tell you anything about this. Again, an opportunity to redesign your courses and redesign learning while you are doing that. Redesign learning to make your students the owners of learning. Redesign your virtual learning environment. Usually when we use a virtual learning environment, we are just putting things on week by week. And here's an opportunity to go back and review and make it all look consistent across the course. So each course will have several teachers teaching different subjects on it. So try and develop a consistent look so that students and colleagues experience the virtual learning environment in a similar way, and it gives a clear and consistent message. Make opportunities to foster learner autonomy and independent learning through the tasks and activities that you set your students. To do this, the task needs to be set out very clearly with clear aims, clear stages, and a clear outcome, expected outcome. So there's a lot of literature on task-based learning, which I don't have time to go into here, but I'm sure you will find it. If you have the time, look at Jane Willis's work on the British Council Teach English website. There's a set of 4 articles which are very useful. They're all about task-based learning. Also, have an online induction module, which I'm sure you do for your courses. This is just a reminder. So before the course begins, you can have an online space, like a learning module, which gives the course overview, useful context, some pre-course materials, a reading list, example activities, and information about assessment. And then make a course outline available to the students at the beginning of the course. And this is very important, stick to it. Okay, so if you've said you're going to do something in week 8, that's what should be happening in week 8, no matter how tempting it is to change things. So basically, there are 3 principles for online learning. The learning should be accessible. So by accessible, yes, digital accessibility, but also accessibility in terms of content and opportunities for engagement, and opportunities for students to show their learning during each session. So when I talk about engagement, what do I mean? The students need to be able to connect with the teacher as a person. And this is not easy if you are meeting your students online for the first time. So for this, that pre-course module or pre-course online space is very important. And perhaps not blurring your background. Let the students see where you're connecting to them from. What is your context? And then the students need to connect with what needs to happen in the session. For this, there needs to be a clear session and course outline. I know I've said this before, but I can't stress this enough. And this needs to be shared with the students in advance on the virtual learning environment, not the night before, but at least a few days in advance. So they have time to connect with it. They have their lives as well. And then, that familiarity with activities and session outlines. So the sessions need to be consistent in structure. And, an example session in the pre-course materials is very helpful for the students. So again, you know, we need to think very hard about how we can engage students we have never met. Maybe set up a Facebook page where, you know, students and teachers can, you know, show a more personal image or something, or an Instagram. So in terms of accessibility, I just wanted to remind ourselves of how distance education used to be. So, you know, we all have open universities where that posted print materials, then they started posting cassettes and then CD-ROMs. But always the focus is on expanding access to learning and removing barriers to education. So at the moment, this is a great opportunity to reach the unreached. So I'm sure that there'll be many of you who are joining this session from your homes because you have childcare responsibilities or other caring responsibilities, or maybe you're not well enough, or maybe you're worried about using public transport in this pandemic. So, you know, there is the opportunity for greater access to learning in online environments, provided people have access to electricity or some sort of power source, and good broadband. So now, of course, in distance education, it's more interactive. Students are not learning in isolation. So today you have a comment box available to you. And, you know, as soon as I stop talking, we'll be able to interact, and hopefully I'll be able to hear and answer your questions. So in our MA sessions, we actually build in breaks. So maybe after a 20-minute sort of session like this of a lecture, we'll stop and we'll have a question and answer with our students. And also the students will answer each other. So usually we stop every 20 minutes to do this. So how do we use this opportunity for online learning to make students owners of their learning? Through the flipped classroom. So on the slide, you can see is the Bloom's taxonomy. We are all familiar with it. It has been criticized, but I still find it useful. So in flipped learning, the idea is to make the new learning materials available to students outside of class in virtual learning environments, or you can email it to them and give them the opportunity to work, to read some articles, watch a video maybe, but also do some reading and maybe work through a recorded PowerPoint, and give them some tasks. So don't just give them learning materials, give them a pre-reading task, a during reading task, and a post-reading task. And ideally put them in groups of no larger than 3 students in a group to work through these materials. And then in a live session like this, get them to work on analyzing what they have read, evaluate, and eventually create, which could be an assessment focused task. So whatever assessment they have to do at the end of the course, they could be working towards that in the sessions. The important thing is to give them some space to display what they have learned in the session. So I'm sure that you will always connect one lesson to the next by recapping, but also give them the opportunity to recycle. So your tasks should give your students the opportunity to use vocab from the previous lesson for a new speaking or writing task. Keep the same topic for more than 1 week and focus on a different skill each week. Give them opportunities for interaction. This also helps with classroom management. So have short tasks for the chat box, like I've been setting you tasks during this session, and give them the time and the silence to complete the task. Pre-session tasks in pairs and groups using the flipped model. Give them the time to then present in the session. So in each session, if it's an hour-long session, set aside at least 20 to 30 minutes with a clear rota for them to present what they have learned or what they would like to share. Repeat instructions verbally and put it on the slide. Put the instructions in the chat box again. Ask check questions. When you set them a task, ask them, What are you going to do now? How are you going to do it? And then think ahead to the next stage. Some of them will finish the task sooner than the other groups. What will they do if you've given them a writing task? They could comment on another group's writing. I use Google Docs for them to do collaborative writing. Also, Padlet is a good place for them to do that. So some tips for materials and resources. I'm going to speed up now because I think I'm nearly out of time. So try one resource each week, share that with your colleagues and also with the students if you're going to try out new things. And again, a reminder, I would not use more than one or two online platforms. Use the chat box. Don't ask them to come out of the platform. Use the chat box of the comment or the comment box for questionnaires and vocabulary activities. Give them time to access a link if you have put up a link. Again, as I said, I use Google Docs and Padlet for collaborative tasks. Jamboard is good for matching and categorizing. These are all free resources. WordWall is good for 5 free tasks that you can set up so that you're not having to prepare again and again. You can use Google Maps. You can ask students to choose a location and get them to talk through it. So you can set them this task in advance of the classroom. So not all the responsibility lies with teachers and administrators. There is a good online learner who accesses materials before the start of the course, before the session. The good online learner is persistent, keeps trying, asks for help, manages their time, so has plans, sets reminders, asks for extensions in time. If they have a deadline, they don't sort of ask for an extension an hour before the deadline, but a week before the deadline, so that you can plan your marking as well. They avoid distractions. They leave any additional digital devices on a different floor. They set time for their breaks. Hopefully you are setting time for breaks in your sessions as well. As teachers, they actually receive the communication. So they read the information carefully in advance of the course, in advance of the session. They communicate through the channels set by the institution. So in the student forums that you have set up, through their student emails, they follow netiquette. They are independent learners, or at least aim to be independent learners. They set a time limit for their research. You know, researching on the internet can be like a rabbit hole. You know, we follow link after link and we forget or move away from the original purpose of our research. So, you know, I usually put up a little post-it on my computer screen with the topic that I'm researching and a few keywords so that I don't get lost on the internet. So the opportunities we have are flexibility. Online materials are available 24/7. Our students and we can go over our lecture recording several times and improve that. Students can comment in student forums. And then we have time to reflect in a classroom session, in a physical session. Students feel under pressure to respond. Online, there is less pressure. They can respond in the comment box. So I had promised a framework for the future. And here I would like to share some hope. So I'm not sure if you've come across the work of Kuhn. So he wrote a book which has been published many times, Theories of Scientific Revolutions. And in that, he talks about the edge of chaos. And maybe, you know, you are already familiar with this theory because it's used in physics and computing. And basically, this theory about the edge of chaos says that out of chaos, when chaos is at an extreme, new things are born. So that's where we are, I feel. We have already become used to our online environments, and we are becoming experts in using the opportunities. We are all becoming digital natives, and we can remind our students of their future selves. Where can they imagine themselves to be next week, in a month's time, at the end of the course? and this will motivate them. There are opportunities to use virtual reality and augmented reality. The headsets and the technology is becoming cheaper and more available. And in India, you are really best placed to use these and probably are already using these. And it's a great opportunity for the state, the government, and the charities to work together to improve access to digital environments and digital resources. So at the beginning of the session, on my slide, I had asked you to note 3 things that you wanted to know by the end of the session. So please go back to those 3 things and make a note of if you actually have at least partial answers. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm open to questions and comments.
Ma'am,
Yes?
it was really an insightful presentation. The way you clearly brought out the 21st century learning skills with its many challenges and plenty of opportunities spread along the way were way too informative and amazing. Your 3 principles of online learning, such as accessibility, engagement, and learning, which you clearly expounded with examples, were really empowering and highly knowledgeable. Not to forget the effective suggestions too, which you brought out for effective learning. Participants have clearly benefited from your session, and it is evident through the wonderful feedback that they have shared in the chat box. We wish you wholeheartedly, ma'am, to win more and more laurels in the years to come. It is
Thank
now
you very
time.
much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It is now time for question and answer session, and I request Assistant Professor Ms. R. Akshya, who is also the technical host of today's program, to take up this part. To you now, Ms. Akshya.
Thank you so much, Ashni ma'am. Ma'am, thank you for delivering a wonderful session. With your permission, shall we go for question answer session, ma'am?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, the very first question is why do cross culture skills matter in 21st century?
Yes, a key question. And again, I feel that in India, you're all experts in cross cultural skills. There's very little that I can tell you, but I am aware that, we are in a very international environment now. So, because whenever we connect with each other, whether online or in a physical presence, there are always, how can I put it, non-verbal cues that we give. So in the way we dress, in our body language, and so this is, and also English is a shared language now. It's wonderful that it has become a shared language. But even sort of the type of words we use, our intonation, so it's very important to be aware of this. And it goes back to that competition and community that I had talked about. So if we really learn, if we are in a sharing community, and to be in a sharing community, our cross-cultural skills tell us not to come across as patronizing, but to be open to everybody in that learning community. And this is really the role of cross-cultural skills, really. Thank you.
Okay, the second question is why is communication considered 21st century skills? What are the different approaches teachers should know to teach to reach the 21st century learners?
Yes, this is a huge question. So I would suggest that communication was always an important skill. If you think about, going back to even prehistory, communication was how we learned, but also how we feel comfortable. And unless we are comfortable, we won't learn. So in terms of different approaches, what are the different approaches? Well, I think everybody who is here today, you've already got the first approach. Okay. You are here, you're present, you are listening. So we need to listen to our students and our colleagues, and that needs time. So in order to listen effectively and to be open to our students and our colleagues, we need to make our goals manageable and concrete and visible. So I would say the first approach in communication is listening. And and so I wish that there was more time in today's session for me to listen to all of you. You've all been very kind in listening to me. So listening, clear and shared goals, and to make the time to arrive at the goal. So the draft goals have to be shared before being agreed. And then whatever is agreed needs to be shared in a transparent manner. So these are the first two approaches, listening and shared goals. The third approach, I would say, is planning. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but planning. There is planning, and consistency is very important. Thank you. I hope I'm answering the questions sufficient. I'm aware of time.
Yes, you are. The third question is how 21st century learners' thought process is different from previous century learners.
You've got me there. A very, very key question. And thank you for taking the time for, asking all the questions. So here, I'll share with my wonderful hosts a book. I'll send you the link for the book and maybe you could share it more widely. So there's a book by Nicholas Carr, which is called The Shallows. And this is what I was sort of alluding to earlier when I was talking, that when we are on the internet, it's very tempting to follow link after link. It's like a rabbit hole. So I would suggest that the thinking process is faster for 21st century learners. And also they have access to much more information because they're online. So our role as teachers is, first of all, to help them to focus their online learning, to keep them on tasks, and to train them to be discerning about the online sources they use, to not be tempted to follow link after link. Okay, and this is where that learning community with our colleagues comes in. So at our university, all my learning materials, for example, for the MA have been on the VLE for as long, virtual learning environment, for as long as this MA has been running. And all the other people on the MA who teach other modules can see my materials. So we share learning materials among our course team very openly, so that we can build on what we are all teaching, and we help each other with links and platforms. So 21st century thinking is faster, but not necessarily better or deeper. And this is where we need to discipline ourselves and help our students in keeping on with focus and deeper thinking. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So
one more question, ma'am. I think this question is very, very important. Online teaching process as a teacher, what to do if students take screenshot instead to do a written notes? Do you think that this era of technology lost writing skills?
Oh, I love these questions. It's such a privilege to be with such an enlightened audience and participants. Fantastic questions. Okay, yes, I know exactly what you mean. So and you've hit the you've hit the spot. So it's not just about losing writing skills. So in order to absorb ideas, and not just to absorb, but to develop ideas and to develop our thinking, we need to use all our senses. So seeing, listening, but also writing. So when I write something down, I understand it better. I take it in better, and I understand it better. I remember it better. So this is when my students are taking screenshots, and of course the recording, sorry, this is just telling me that I shouldn't go over time. I'm very aware and appreciative that people have taken time out of their lives to join this session. Thank you. So yes, I'll just finish saying what I was saying. So when I write something down, so what I tell my students is that take all the screenshots you want, but remember something, that just like we are told not to use our mobile phones when we are driving or when we are crossing the road, because when we do that, 80% of our attention is on the mobile screen rather than on the process of driving or crossing the road. In the same way, when you are taking screenshots, 80% of your attention is on that technology rather than using your energy to listen and understand. Because in that moment of time, you're not listening, you're not reading, you're taking a screenshot. And to develop your thinking, because really I want my students not just to get the qualification but to develop their thinking. They are going to be out there in the world with the Leeds Beckett name. They will be representing Leeds Beckett. So I would like people to see that my MA students are thinkers, and they can develop other people's thinking and skills. So to do that, they need to use all their senses. So they need to write notes, because if they just read, they are really accepting what I'm telling them on the screen. When they write notes, that is their version, their understanding. So that's very, very important. So I hope this makes sense.
Yes. I think that's all the questions are. Thank you so much, ma'am, for patiently answering all the questions which was posted by our participants. Once again, thank you for accepting our invitation and delivering a wonderful session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. If I may take one more minute to
Yes,
really,
yes, ma'am, you can.
yeah, I just want to warmly thank everybody. My hosts, who I've been in touch with, and whom I've seen today, and also your institution, for for putting on such a useful session, but also for being so warm. And I already feel I have a relationship with all of you. And this relationship in learning and moving forward is very important. For all of you participants, I have a message. You are all brave, and you are already in the future, because you are here today in this session and you are taking some things away. So please carry on being brave and carry on building the future, which is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Over to you, Ashini, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Naeema Hann and Ms. Akshya. Special thanks to our resource person, Dr. Naeema, for patiently and efficiently answering all the questions posted by participants. I would also like to share the message by our Dean, Dr. Mary Thomas. I'll just share it as it is. Thank you, Dr. Naeema Hann, for being here with us and enlightening us with this wonderful session on challenges and opportunities we face in the 21st century. We are all on the edge of chores and we brace ourselves to enter the rabbit hole of digitally enthused knowledge accumulation. Thank you once again for putting across challenges to achieve excellence. Thank you, Dr. Han. So this is her message, ma'am. So, uh, it is now time to express our honest gratitude to everyone who supported, guided, and extended their fullest cooperation towards the successful conduct of today's webinar. We have Dr. Karpagavadivu, Deputy Head Admin, Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks. To you now, ma'am.
Happy evening to all. Myself, Dr. V. Karpagavadivu, Assistant Professor, Deputy Head Admin. A thankful heart is not only the greatest virtue, but the parent of all the other virtues by Cicero. It's a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God to make this international webinar on learning in the 20th century, challenges and opportunities a result success. I would like to thank A.C. Shanmugam, Founder Chancellor, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, Honorable President, for the entire guidance and content support to organize this event in a very grand manner. Our sincere gratitude to our provost, Dr. G. Gopalakrishnan, Dr. Geeta Lakshmi, Vice Chancellor, for the encouragement. I like to thank Dr. C.B. Palanivelu, Registrar, Dr. Mani Pandey, Joint Registrar, HNS, for the tremendous support. I wish to place my sincere thanks to Dr. L. Ramesh, Joint Registrar, Events, Dr. D.B. Javiraj, Additional Registrar, E&S, for their motivation. I would like to thank Dr. Naeema Hann, Emeritus Reader, Carnegie School of Education, Leeds Beckett University, UK. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, ma'am. Thank you. I'd like to thank Dr. R. Pushkala, Dean Literary Seminary, Dr. E.D. Thomas, Dean English, Dr. M. Chandrasena Rajeshwaran, HOD English, Ms. Julie Elizabeth, Deputy Head, Academics, for their stewardship, vision, and commitment towards this program. I must thank the organizing committee, Dr. R. Hashini, Professor, Ms. Akshaya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, for the effort to make this event a grand success. A special thanks to teaching and non-teaching staff for the unflinching support and coordination. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for expressing it in a beautiful way. This spectacular moment, while we rejoice at the grand success of the international webinar, we deem it a privilege and honor to appreciate the eminent resource person who has been the backbone behind its incredible success. And this we would like to do through an appreciation certificate from our esteemed university. I request Ms. Arakshia to display the appreciation certificate of our resource person through this virtual studio. Ma'am, kindly accept our appreciation certificate.
Thank you very much. I am very, very grateful for this. I feel honored. My institution is honored as well. Most of all, I think you are doing a great service to the discipline of English and English literature. It's wonderful to be present here with all of you across thousands of miles, and to learn from you as well. Thank you. I am honored. I have no words to express my appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Akshaya. Dear participants, for your kind information, the feedback and assessment form is now active in the YouTube chat box. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 6 p.m. Indian time today to instantly receive your certificate in your registered emails. Later, the form will be deactivated. It is our university's policy not to share the presentation slides to the participant, but we would like to delightfully inform that this video will be ever available in our YouTube channel. Participants can view at any moment from the comforts of their place, get benefited, and also share it with friends and colleagues. We have now come to the fag end of the program, and we are totally confident that all would have gained enough knowledge on the topic. With the satisfaction of presenting a good and resourceful webinar of international relevance, we wish to sign off and hope to meet you all in the next program. Keep supporting us as always, dear participants, and don't forget to submit your feedback form and also subscribe our YouTube channel, Department of English, Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute, for further updates about our programs and videos. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.